were expecting the mirror you bought over the internet to look like this. But you didn't read the small print containing details about the item's real size. These are known as unfair commercial practices. Some of them are obvious scams, such as miracle cures, for example. Others are hidden in places you least expect to find them, in loans, or between the lines of too-good-to-be-true promotions. We are in Italy to find out how to spot these scams and how to avoid them.
When I bought the computer, nobody told me that all consumer goods bought in Europe have an automatic 2-year guarantee. The salesman said my computer only had a 1-year guarantee.
The retailer was fined €900,000. The company in question was Apple. The case was brought by Italy's antitrust authority back in 2011. Apple, however, has not changed its practices in the rest of Europe. Quite simply, Apple failed to mention an EU directive allowing the return of goods up to 2 years after purchase. Instead, it offered clients a so-called extended warranty that in fact overlapped the free statutory 2-year warranty. We met Giorgio Nobili, one of the consumers who fell in the trap.
I went to an Apple store, I had a look at their products, and I bought a laptop and desktop computer. The salesman told me that both items had a 1-year warranty, but that this would be extended to 3 years if I purchased the Apple Care plan, which cost me an extra €400.
Giorgio bought the computer in November 2011, 1 month before the group was fined. He decided to sue Apple and is now waiting for the ruling, hoping for a refund.
As Apple's such a big company, I wasn't expecting to be ripped off. I thought that what they told me was true, so I signed and ended up paying much more than necessary. I feel they've made a fool of me. I feel duped and cheated.
Consumers' associations play an important role in fighting unfair commercial practices. They receive the complaints and pass them on to the Italian antitrust authority. Altro Consumo was one of the associations that fought the Apple case.
Apple
was forced to update the information given on its website, where the 2-year free warranty wasn't mentioned. And they were also forced to give their salespeople new guidelines.
According to the European directive, there are 2 main categories of unfair commercial practices: aggressive and misleading. The latter, be it through action or omission, pushes the average consumer to take decisions he would otherwise not have taken. Misleading advertising is one example. This advertisement shows how consumers can easily be misled. It was aired in Italy between February 2010 and June 2012. Food and drinks multinational Danone was fined €170,000 for it and has appealed the sentence. Roberto Lapira is a journalist specialized in consumer protection.
This is a typical example of misleading advertising because it includes unconfirmed scientific data that confuses consumers. It says 50% of women don't take in enough calcium, but that's not true. It says that diet itself cannot supply you with the daily amount of calcium you need. And that's absolutely untrue. The problem is that it was broadcast over a 2-year period, and people believed it. It's been censored, but nobody reported that. It wasn't in the papers or in other media. So the advert worked.
Unfair commercial practices are everywhere and involve companies one wouldn't suspect. Italian car giant Fiat, for example, was fined for promising motorists they would save a lot of money on fuel if they bought this car. Even Italy's government-run train operator Trenitalia was sanctioned after it promoted €9 tickets that were virtually impossible to get hold of.
No one really talks about misleading advertising because it's big business. 9 out of 10 of large companies have been fined at least once. A typical example is telecommunication companies. Phone companies have been handed at least 100 fines, and they don't play fair, they don't change their ways. Fines are included in their budgets. Misleading advertising is only a drop in the ocean of unfair commercial practices.
Door-to-door selling, for example, can easily turn into aggressive practice, as illustrated in this film by Ultra Consumo. The EU has drawn up a blacklist of practices regarded as unfair and thus banned. The directive adopted in 2005 replaced national legislation. Making sure it's enforced, however, is another kettle of fish. Member states deplore a lack of resources, the complexity of internal procedures, and the absence of sanctions.
Each European country relies on a different body to check that the directive on unfair commercial practices is implemented. The problem is to communicate and share good practice and efficient decision-making.
The law exists. The goal now is to harmonise its implementation in order to make sure that what you pay for is what you get.